Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, we want to welcome you to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather to see the lectures and interviews organized by MindaliaTV.com. Today with us, Angel Ribo, CEO consultant, TV host, international public speaker, and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation, is going to be interviewing. Oh, he's not going to be interviewing. He's actually going to be co-hosting with Sunny Chayes. Sunny is a chief strategist partner and feature writer in an important conscious magazine in Los Angeles, and she connects change makers with other change makers to make the world a better place by promotion, introduction, and events. Before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia is a nonprofit organization. Our mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you can help us. How? Subscribing to our channel if you haven't done it yet, leaving us a positive comment on this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit from the content that we're going to be talking here today. We want to also remind you that Mindalia is broadcasting from Monday to Friday in Portuguese through Mindalia Televisao, in Spanish through Mindalia Televisión, and as you know already in English through Mindalia TV English. I want to invite you to visit us at our different platforms, find out the content that we are transmitting today, every day. Information as beautiful and interesting as the one we are sharing in Mindalia TV. They're going to be bringing a wonderful interview, which is Aimee Lyndon Adams. And guys, I am not going to I'm sorry. I am not going to delay this any further. I'm going to be leaving you with Aimee, Sunny, and Angel. Welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mirna. A pleasure to be introduced by you as every single day. Thank you very much. And Sunny, good morning. How are you?
Morning, Angel. Happy All Saints Day. What a perfect day for our show today and coming into the beautiful time of holiday and festivity. I was so excited with the time changing and the leaves changing and the weather changing and our spirits changing.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's a very special day in many places in the world. And, as you know, I'm originally from Spain, and Spain is a holiday today. And it's celebrated, it's All Saints Day. So it's really a very, it has a long tradition of celebrations in Spain. And as you know, in Spain, there's something that we like to do a lot, which is eating good food. So, so actually today, something that happens is that we actually bake chestnuts. And you can see people baking chestnuts on the streets. And, everybody likes to go out and go with mom and dad and grandpa and grandma to grab those chestnuts. And it's typically cold, a little bit cold. So it's a very nice tradition. As you know, Spain has always been a very Catholic influence culture.
Yes. Well, I'm, as I say, with the seasons changing and, so much going on in the world, you know what I've been thinking just lately, I've had a kind of a shift in my feelings about social activism. And for a long time, I've been doing so many things, of course, and not feeling like I ever do enough. But, at times feeling actually a little bit angry or a little bit frustrated or a little bit just sort of beating the drum with a feeling of warrior. And what I'm realizing now in this time, maybe it's my age, I'm not sure, but also I'm just hearing a lot and feeling deeply that the time has come to shift that to being a joyful warrior, to somehow find the way to bring in the self-love and knowing that whatever I'm doing is for myself, and then working with that, because that has a bit of a connotation, a judgment of, oh, I'm being selfish, so working with really, really understanding who I am, understanding my gifts deeply, understanding my passions, and really what I want to do this next sort of chapter of my life. And I always want to make a difference in the world, but realizing that by really taking care of myself first, and what that really deeply means, not just take a nice bath and light a candle and, you know, have a cup of tea, but deep, deep, deep cellular self-love and healing and awareness. That I think through that place, I'll be much more I'll be much more effective. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind actually comes to my eyes, which is the candle. It was so beautiful. I think that, you know, it's such a beautiful candle, such a beautiful candle. We had this very magic shining last week. And what comes to my mind is that just this morning, I had a conversation with a very good friend of mine in Colombia. Besides a friend of mine, he's a business partner. And he wanted to help me to expand, a certain business together. But he had been like missing the deadlines over and over and over again. And he's done that 3 or 4 times for the last 12 months. But I'm always very compassionate. Last time I said, okay, so if the previous times hasn't worked, maybe I should be a little bit more tough, I said to myself, right? So I said, I mean, I wasn't really that tough, but I said, I'll just try to ignore him a little bit and focus myself on unconditional love, just unconditional love, to accept him as he is, as opposed to having a judgmental, thought about him and what he has said so many times he was going to do. And so 3 weeks ago, I said, I'm just going to, leave him where he is. And, I accept him like he is. And whatever he's doing is fine and is perfect. It's perfect. If it's perfect for him, it serves me as well, even if it doesn't have anything to see with me. And just this morning, he called me. Actually, he sent me an email at 3 a.m. because he woke up at 2 thinking of me. And he sent me this message at 3, and then at 6 he texts me and he says, we have to talk. And then we talk, and he says, I have to apologize. This morning I had an epiphany. I woke up thinking of you at 2, and I reviewed everything that we exchanged for the last 12 months, everything, every single email, every single text. And I realized what I had been missing on. And today is the start of a completely new relationship among us. I apologize. And, it's like, well, I think that we tend to be very judgmental with the people that we love the most sometimes, because with the rest, it's just okay. But with the people that we really want them to be something else, we really want them to thrive. And our show is about thriving, right, Sunny?
Yes.
So that's what comes to my mind. Sorry about the long story.
Oh, no, I love that story. And I think that it's, at this time we do have, of course, we're talking about so much, all of us in the media, or not all of us, but many of us sort of getting to peaceful conflict resolution. So your story is so perfect with that. And then again, taking that so deeply into our own, cells, our own mitochondria, our own, the deepest part of us. And I noticed that with myself, when I let go, sort of how do I access more self-love than I did yesterday, for example. And I realized that when I let go of the self-judgment, self-love kind of rushes in to fill that space, whoosh, like, and so I'm so grateful to do that. And one of the things I want to say right now is our guest that we're having on today. So fun to co-host with you, by the way, Angel. I'm having so much fun. It's so great. Is somebody who's really someone I hold deep in my heart. She's somebody. Her name's Aimee Lyndon Adams, and I met her 11 years ago, I think, going on 12. And I was really drawn to her because it was a time in my life where I'd done a lot of spiritual work myself, for many years, but it was really time to up it and go in and go out and all of that, all those prepositions. And so I was drawn to her at a meeting that we were at. And as I say, she's kind of my energetic graduate school boot camp master. When I was not being as clean as possible, when I was not being as integral as possible, boy, oh boy, she didn't let me get away with anything. And to this day, I am so grateful because in my walk for many years now, I really can see where I might be getting off you know, I might be going a place that's not in integrity because it might be easier, because I'm afraid to face something head on, or I'm not aware. And so when we're talking about that self-love, and we're talking about the thriving and the balance and all of that, I would like to just bring her on. So can we do that?
Of course.
Bring Angel on? I mean, can we bring Aimee on? I'm looking at Angel.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Too, which is so perfect, because right next to her picture in my vision here is your name. So she is an angel to many, many, many people, thousands of people, specifically in the Northern California area. So she's very bitchin'. So let's bring her on.
Hi, Aimee. Welcome to Mindalia TV. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
May I also just briefly say, because I didn't really give her an edification, she has been working in an she has created an organization actually called What Truly Matters. And she does a lot of healing work, speaks to great groups, and brings the message to many, many people, is a great writer and things like that. So without further ado, I will stop talking and let Aimee come on and chat. So come on in, Aimee.
Thank you.
I think we can hear you for some reason. I think that we cannot hear you.
Are you speaking, Aimee?
Yeah.
Okay, now perfect. Perfect. Right, thank you.
You are on the air.
All right. Well, what a pleasure to be with you both, and on this auspicious day. It couldn't really be better. You know, my business it comes from a place where we really recognize that every person on earth has a piece of the puzzle, has the solution. If we were all our best selves, if we really did take care of ourselves and discover who we really are, there would be no problems on earth, because each of us brought a solution to the particular piece that we're passionate about. You know, you're not even asked to do something that you don't really resonate with, but it's those deep-seated passions that we came to work with and share, and as a result, you know, we create a better whole for everyone. One of the great advantages that I have, and my business partner Karen Halseth has, who is a partner of mine in What Truly Matters, is that we actually channel 20 ascended master guides through our hands and through our words. And these 20 ascended masters share purpose with us. And our purpose is to work with any human being who basically raises their hand and wants to grow, wants to learn more about themselves, wants to find out who they really are, what they came to do. It's probably the biggest question we get asked in our business: what is my purpose? And of course, everyone has an overarching purpose. And that it goes back to what you were both talking about, is to share our love. But, you know, the heart has its own purpose. It's not only to give love, it's to receive love too.
A good reminder, you know, and I think of how we have lived, especially women, for many, many years, feeling that being a good person is giving, 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 and taking that time for oneself is such a small corner of the week. You know, it's sort of, I must do all of these things, and then I'll take a bit of time for myself Saturday at 4 o'clock, you know. And what I'm enjoying, I'll love for you to chat a little bit about your 50-50 balance thing, because I really just love that. I just dig that. Is that what I'm realizing is having it all part of it. It's not separate. Oh, I'm doing for my family and for my friends and my community or my job or all of it, and then I'll take a bit of time for myself, as I say, you know, some corner of the week or corner of the month. If there's a way, I think it'd be so great, and I think it's so important, and it would be life affirming and vitalizing for us, like an engine that just keeps running for much longer, if we can find a way to work all of that, or not even work, use all of that all the time. You know, where we're giving, receiving, just like when we're breathing in and out all the time. Is there a way that we can shift it so that it works, that it's all of it all the time?
Yes, and you know, I mean, nature gives us the perfect model, doesn't it? If you think about just the breath that keeps us alive, we take an in breath and fill ourselves up, and then we take an out breath and give out to the world. So it's really super simple when you boil it down, as long as you remember that and remember the two functions of the heart. Because when you give and give and give, which, you know, many of us have been trained to do, and, you know, although we typically think of women being the recipient of these messages that, you know, you have to give to everyone who asks all around you, it doesn't exclude men, because, you know, men have also been sold this provider role, and that your role is to work and to go out there and, you know, work yourself to the bone so that you can provide for your family. And, you know, if we're really going to change the world, which of course is the primary agenda on earth at this time, we can't do it if we're all running exhausted. And you can see, as you look around you everywhere, everyone is so tired. And so that's what's got to change, is we need to look at a new way to balance the giving and receiving, so that we give from fullness, which is a real gift. Otherwise, we're giving from our depletion, which is no gift at all, really.
Yeah.
Exactly. And beyond tired, I see people consumed, literally consumed. And I love the metaphor that you use when you explain that, you know, the universe or the earth is a puzzle, and everybody has a piece and has a role. And why would you say that being so perfect, why do you think that it's so difficult that people actually end up being depleted and tired and exhausted? Why is that happening? What's wrong? What's that thing that we're doing wrong systematically as a civilization that we end up being in that place? What
a great question, Angel. I want you warned me. Yes, great question. So I'd like to answer it in two ways. First of all, the way we are programmed and conditioned right out of the gate. So if you think about how you were taught by people who had been taught how to be by their parents, and their parents had been taught how to be by their parents. Yes, schools and different organizations chip in, but basically we're programmed to be a certain way, think a certain way, act a certain way, and this is the formula for how you get loved and get attention in life, is you have to be good, and many of us get the message you have to be perfect in order to get love. I know, for example, that it took me 50 years to actually shake off that belief that I had to be perfect. And I was so grateful when I was able to finally put it down, because it takes so much energy to be perfect. You're only as good as the very last thing you just did perfectly, and now it starts again. So it took that exhausting. But I think there's a deeper and more insidious reason why we're so exhausted as a nation. And part of it is the system that has been set up to basically keep human beings in their place, you know, I want to say under the thumb. And, you know, if we think of our system of money, it has actually created enslavement. if we think of the way that we work, it has actually created, to a very large degree, enslavement, that it's the only way that we're expected to behave. And I think it's so demeaning to human beings, and ultimately we won't put up with it. You know, we've certainly put up with it for a long time. We've had examples of whole nations rebelling. You know, right now I'm thinking particularly of the 1%. How do you have 1% taking all the resources and leaving 99% of the population struggling? It's a time-dated situation. It cannot be allowed to continue because the universe likes balance, and 1% and 99% is not a balance point. So we've got some work to do.
Well, one thing that I'm thinking of when you're speaking, Aimee and Angel, thank you so much for that question too, is I'm thinking again of, again, for us to really know our power. You know, I wrote just now an article for the Whole Life Times entitled E Pluribus Unum, which of course means out of many one, and reminding us of our personal power if we want to speak, you know, to the 99% that you're speaking of, Aimee, and the balance. And I'm thinking of just, you know, sort of the knowing of ourselves, and not, again, you were speaking of what is important in the society, really taking that time and in a day, in a year, to really know ourselves has not been a priority in modern times. But I think of, you know, there's a place in a temple in Egypt called the Holy of Holies, and deep within this specific temple, it has on the wall the words, "Man, know thyself, and thou shalt know the gods." You know, in many places it says things like this in ancient places, like in the Temple of Apollo of Delphi in Greece, it also says, "Know thyself." And so I'm thinking that concept, that practice, that permission to really know ourselves allows us to really know our power in a beautiful way, not in an aggressive way, not in a fight back way, or from a place of weakness, or, you know, this 99%, like we're the plebeians, you know, scrapping around. So I think that how great it would be if we really give ourselves permission, even you guys listening to this show, let's give ourselves permission to deeply go in and know who we are, so that we can function from there and really know what we do want. How much money do we want? What size house do we want? You know, in other words, we're kind of run around getting things and spending a lot of pain and anguish to achieve what may not even be what we want. So don't you think there's value in that, Aimee?
I think it tells such a story, because so many of us at this point are limited by other people's beliefs. You know, that's what I was saying, is in the programming you're subjected to as a child, and, you know, you don't know any better at that point. So you absorb other people's beliefs, but other people's perceptions. You even do more than that. You actually absorb the wounds of your parents, which is how we get imprinted to remember what it is we came to learn. And you absorb also the outdated belief patterns of our ancestors. You know, when you think of how many years ago those beliefs were formed, and that they get downstepped through the bloodline, generation after generation. So you're at the effect of so much information that has nothing to do with you. Unfortunately, what happens for most of us is that we take that set of beliefs and wounding out into the world. And of course, whatever we're holding in our chakras or our energy system, you know, the chakras are like mini computers in that they receive energy, they store energy, and they broadcast energy. So if you think that, you know, what you're attracting out there over and over, if it's a repeated pattern, it's actually coming from within you that is broadcasting and attracting those matching pictures and patterns. Until we can get beyond that programming and discover who we really are, I don't think our true life begins.
Mm-hmm. Well, some of the ways that all of that is so true, and a lot of us luckily know out there in Mindalia world about chakras and how all this works. You know, some things I've been really so interested in playing with are things like, you were using the word belief a couple times, and we realize now that any belief, even if it's a good, great, and wonderful belief of ourselves, is indeed still a limiting belief. Any belief that we have about what we see around us is a limiting belief. And so how great it would be today on All Saints Day if we can just look at our belief. As a belief comes up, as a thought comes up, as an opinion comes up, we realize, you know what? That really truly is just a belief. And it is softer if we can soften it and realize what it actually is, which is like a sandhill on the beach. It's not a concrete wall, that we can dissolve that and just acknowledge that and say, okay, well, what is possible? That's a belief I've had for 50 years or whatever, but what is actually beyond that? So I send that out as a wish today for you guys.
Because a belief is nothing more than a thought that has been thought again and again and again and again and again and hardened, so that we absolutely put our power behind it. But it's those beliefs that actually create the quality of our life. And if you're not happy with the quality of your life, it's a good opportunity to go back and examine your beliefs.
Exactly. And what comes to my mind now is, how can we soften those hardened neuronal connections that are making us continuously react in automatic pilot kind of thing. So what can we do if we know already, as you said before, that we are receiving all that information and all that influence massively since we are kids? So that we can probably start changing those limiting beliefs, so that we can have other beliefs that serve our life and maybe even our purpose, and we are maybe not the perfect part or piece of the puzzle, but maybe a better piece of the puzzle. How can we soften that?
Yes. So the first thing is bringing those beliefs to awareness, because for so many of us, we just think, oh, this is the way life is. We've been taught this is the way life is. If we feel like a victim, we think, oh, that's all I deserve. I've been told that's all I deserve. So we're not actually taught to monitor the thoughts that we're thinking. There's two ways to do it. One way is to actually notice what is repeating in your life in a negative way. For example, I didn't find out this information until I was actually 50 years old. It was a huge opening for me at that time. And I didn't know that I had been, molested as a child. But what had happened was, as I started to grow up and go out into the world, I attracted every kind of abuse: emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, even spiritual abuse, financial abuse. And for a long time, I kept thinking, wow, this is about the people out there, and kind of blaming these people, until one day it just hit me like a ton of bricks that there is a coincidence. There is a common denominator, and the common denominator is me. And so what is it in me that is attracting abusers to me? And that thought alone made me start to question my current reality. And as I started to dig deeper and seek out some support from some fellow healers, I was able to discover that my wires, my internal wiring, had been crossed. So I thought I was going for love, and I would actually get abuse. And so one of the things I recognized from that was there was a feeling of self-worthlessness, of hopelessness, of I didn't know what I'd done wrong, I kept thinking, but it must have been something terrible. Therefore, I deserve to be punished. And this all came from sitting with what is it in me that's attracting this abuse. And then when I saw it all on paper, I realized, okay, I know enough about changing a thought using affirmations to a different way of thinking. And I also understood how we have been gifted as human spiritual beings with the gift to manifest. And we manifest through the quality of our thoughts and the quality of our emotions, as well as our intention. So if I were to change my thoughts and my feelings and my intention, could I indeed attract a different type of person in my life? And that's what happened. I just kept working over and over with, you deserve love. I deserve love. And gradually the terrain changed.
So thank you for that, Aimee. And I think that at this point in our lives, because a lot of us, luckily our audience out there is pretty sophisticated and has done a lot of work. And I think at this point, because we feel a little bond, even though we've done a lot of work and to your question, Angel, how can we really get at this? I think at this point, to kind of create some balance is to do some baby steps every day. Like, for example, maybe just shift a food that we eat, tomorrow or today, just one food. Maybe we look at people around us as if we were their mothers or how their mother would look at them. Maybe we take the label that we have on ourselves, and I realize anytime we have some sort of label that comes up, any label is a limiting belief. Is a limiting label. So if we can put breath in that and space and just see ourselves from a creatorship place where we are really allowing something new and just creating again that space to move out. I think that is something that we can start doing today to really take what you're saying, Aimee, to what's happening. And so those are just a few suggestions, but I think that by taking little steps, yes, there's a big work with, a spiritual master, a therapist, whatever. And to meet that in our own work, it's like, yes, we do brush our teeth, even though we have to go to the dentist and have the root canal or whatever. But, those little bits really will help us. And again, just knowing that any belief we have about anything is maybe not even true. Let's try that on for size. Maybe there's a truthier truth, like Dr. Seuss would say. That's my addition to your answer.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. We are run by probably, society is so rigid. It's so rigid. There's so many things that we have to do to be able to feel comfortable in a society that probably doesn't even have the time to look at us. Don't you think it's such a big paradox that we want to content everybody, but in reality, everybody's so concentrated and focused on their own lives and trying to work on their exhaustion or what on their tiredness, that it's funny that we still want to make everybody happy, and we have to look happy, and we have to look wealthy and everything else. But definitely we have to work on ourselves. The other day I got asked on a podcast, it's a business podcast, I got asked a question, very simple question. And after I responded to that question, there was silence. And I think they thought of me, is this guy completely insane or what? I'm pretty unconventional the way I teach my clients, my CEO clients with their businesses. But the question was very easy. Angel, what do you do when you're really stressed out? What do you do? I'm going to tell you what I do when I'm really stressed out. I'm in the office. I say, okay, I'm going to take a break. I put my meditation headband, which is a piece of electronics. And then what I do is I close my eyes and I go one by one to all the plants I have in my office. And I give love to, with closed eyes, I give love to all the plants and I literally connect with them. And I feel the chills and everything. So I'm fully connected. After this 30-minute practice, I am a completely new, different guy. So when I explained that to them, there was silence. So it was the only answer that they didn't make any comment afterwards. They said, this guy is crazy, but it's so simple, right, Aimee? It's so simple.
So simple. In a way, you see, what you did was, instead of stepping out into nature, you had nature in your home. And just by connecting to that life force within nature and opening your heart, you not only gave love to the plants, but they gave it back to you. And it's almost instantaneous. I mean, that hit that nature provides, it should not be overlooked, and applaud you to be willing to seem unconventional or insane, as it were, because, that's what waking up is all about. It's actually breaking out of that superimposed role that we all inherit in some way. We inherit it, but unfortunately it becomes like a box, and the more we try to maneuver within the box, the tighter it gets. It can end up feeling like a straitjacket, that there's no room for self-expression, and then we do become the plebs, the drones in society, thinking this is all we deserve. But there is another way. There really is another way. And I think, this could lead into talking about this new ratio of balance, because when you think about what people want the most, and somehow we've talked about this for years and years and years, how to have more balance in our life. And does anyone have more balance in their life? I think very few. And that's because we haven't been looking at it the right way. I recently had some surgery and had a pretty lengthy period of convalescence. I laugh when I say that, because for most people, it's not a lengthy period of convalescence at all. It's been about 5 weeks, but it was major surgery. In that time, I was disconnected from my old persona, my old way of being in the world. And my guides at one point tapped me on the shoulder and said, pick up a pen and paper and write down 10 benefits of you having had the surgery. And as I started writing, I realized, oh my God, this turned out to be a complete gift to me, a gift in disguise, not one that I thought I wanted, but definitely something that I needed. And I said to them, I've lost touch with my persona. I have no interest in the external world, I have no curiosity, I have no aliveness to interact, I have nothing to say, I don't know what I think anymore. I've just been so deeply internal. And they said, why would you want to reach back for that persona? What is actually happening now is you're incubating, you're giving birth to your essence, who you really came to be. And that essence needs nurturing, just as though you were pregnant with a new being. You need to give that time, that quality time, love, so that you can bring that beautiful essence into the world and know that you have chosen to rebirth yourself in a way. So it was a very, very, very powerful experience of kind of almost 180-degree thinking, you know, oh, woe is me, to, oh, yay, look at me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Sorry, I was just going to say something. There's two very important things that actually relate, and that's why I think we get along so well with Sunny. Number one, she's as unconventional or even more than me, and that's why we like each other so much. And number two, I remember when we were talking about this show with Sunny, we were having exactly the same kind of conversation of an 180-degree change. You know, let's do something different, because we both felt that it was the time to do it. So absolutely, what a beautiful way to express it, Aimee.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
You know, one thing I want to add to that, thank you, and I'm so excited to be doing this with Angel, because I feel like he has his shows and I have my shows, and then we come together and we bring something just complete, whatever we want. So it's so fun. And you know, I was thinking about what you were saying, Aimee, about reaching back or that kind of thing, and I often chat to myself and to other people about, you know, living sort of this Groundhog Day life, you know, where we've gotten to a place wherever we are, wherever it is, we could be 12 or 20 or 89, and we sort of trust what's happening. And of course, we all know that that's how the conscious mind operates. It's, you know, if we do what we did yesterday and we didn't get eaten by a lion, we probably won't today either. So let's do the same darn thing. And, you know, but that is totally Groundhog Day. So how boring is that? And I think that's one of the things that adds to our sort of feeling of unhappiness, because we're not being adventurous as much as we might be. You know, kind of the hero's journey, you know, it is safer to, as I say, be in that place. And I think of, gosh, you know, letting go of who we think we're supposed to be. Again, when we're talking about the persona, we're talking about the protective personality, and allowing something new every day, you know, sort of stepping into something that's new. And if we do, I believe, dive into who we really are, there's an infinite amount of, like, chokes me up, you know, possibilities and opportunities for us. Like, we have such an infinite bag of tricks in there and out there and all around us that we often don't play with. And so that's another, in answer to your question, Angel, about what can we do? It's like, can we just wake up every day and say, what's a new bit in our bag of tricks, in our Halloween candy bag that's new that we haven't played with before? Because do we really want to be Groundhog Day every day, even though it's safe? I mean, can we just break, you know, like you say, Aimee, with the box, can we just know that we will be safe and trust? And I think, again, that's the balance that nature shows us. I love learning the language of nature and coming from nature as much as possible, knowing that the deeper our roots are, the higher we can go. Perhaps more fruit we can have, more leaves we can have, more branches. And the tree doesn't even say, as it comes out and it's like a little seedling or whatever, those like little, it says, I made it through the soil. I'm done already. I got it. I'm a tree now. No, it keeps growing and growing. And it doesn't know how big it's going to get necessarily, or how many fruit it's going to have or whatever, but it just it's never done. It says, that's not enough. I want to grow a little more today. I want to get closer to the sun. I want to take in more air. I want to have more little birds flying around and landing on my branches. You know, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but let's have more branches to have more fun. I think that's what the tree is thinking.
I love it. Well, I think between you and Angel, you've got nature covered here.
Thank you. But what about the role of joy? You know, the role of joy. I was developing a program with a partner, a business partner of mine, and we would have challenges every day for the audience, every day. And one day we proposed this following challenge to all the audience, and it's a very easy challenge, and I think everybody would love it. It's just stay. You know, that very famous movie that you had to say yes. You know, it was Jim Carrey. So, I mean, just one day, 24 hours. Give yourself the chance of say yes to everything that you're being offered on a particular day. You know, honestly, just try to do that. and do that with joy. Oh my God, what an adventure. Today is going to be another adventurous day in my life. But I mean, it's going to be, obviously, it's going to be like, neuronal connection changing and breaking, definitely. But oh my God, what new adventures, what new places what new people are you going to meet that day? So many new things. Oh my God. I mean, joy. And what about you spoke about thoughts and about feelings. Feelings we're talking about energy here. We're talking about, right? Can you imagine being in, 100% joy the entire day, doing new things? What do you think, Aimee, would do that to our lives if we were just trying that for just one day, like fully joy, like day?
I think if you did it one day, for a whole day, it would actually change things up, because you would have great difficulty going back to the routines. You see, the problem with routines and ruts is there's no aliveness in them. There's only deadness in them. And, the goal for all of us human beings who want to play our part in this shift on Earth is to raise our frequency. And so what raises frequency is aliveness. Not only choosing adventures, choosing to say yes, but also eating the most alive foods, drinking drinks that are filled with aliveness, pure water, not these sugar-laden drinks that are just deadening us all. So when you really think about joy and play and pleasure and truth, these are things that cause our frequency to raise, to resonate with it. It really is, in many ways, what we were born to do and need to get back to. So, if I talk about the new model for balance here, it feels like an absolute perfect fit. It might sound really shocking to many of you. As I was saying, I've had 5 weeks recently to really work with this and really take it in and even look at how would I actually do this practically in my life. And I'm just going to start by saying it's 50% focused on me, what's important to my growth, my evolution, my raising my frequency, my being the best version of myself that I could possibly be. And then it's 50% focused on others. Now, what is so surprising, perhaps, is that work comes into others. And so let's look at what constitutes focusing on oneself. Well, it's a combination of how do you take care of your own physical body. This cannot be underestimated. Your partnership with your body is probably the greatest partnership, certainly the longest partnership you'll have with any other being. And believe me, the body is a being. It has intelligence. So how you take care of your body is absolutely essential. I'm just turned 70 years old, and I'm actually starting to realize that I get to have the best body, the most aliveness, the most passion that I've ever had in my entire life. It feels like a complete new beginning. And I look around and I see so many people who have not taken care of their bodies. And they're looking at, oh, this is the end of the end. My body's breaking down. All my options are breaking down. Why would we sacrifice our bodies to do all this other stuff? I'll interject this little aside here, because I read this several years ago, and it was the top 5 regrets of the dying. And the number one regret was, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. That was the number one regret. The number two regret was, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. So the 50%.
And what I'd like to say to that is that thank you for sharing so much of that. And I think that what we can do at this point, because I think there's so much creativity, I mean, there's always been so much creativity available to any and every aspect of sentient anything here on this planet. And for us to really take that in, you know, what I just said, and say that anything and everything is possible in a creative way. And so because I love to work, and I want to find a new word for that. And part of the thing that I was writing down when you were talking was language, because of course I love words, and I feel that words we now know have so much energy and vibration, and even shifting the way we speak about our self-talk and other people, it can absolutely shift our vibrations so much, as well as invite people into our world so much more when our language is softer and more true to what we really think, digging for the real words, again, not being Groundhog Day and just using what we always say, but find a deeper word for what we want to say. I think it's really fun to do, actually. And I think it's really important, like moving words like I have to go to work to I get to go to work, or again changing the word work to something else. So when you were talking about 50-50, and we were chatting about it the other day too, I was thinking more about it, and I was thinking and I said this I think in the beginning of the show about, you know, having it all flowing, like in many communities in this world, it's just everything that one does from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep is part of the life. It's not separated out. This is work, this is play, this is good, this is bad. You know, there's not that separation. It all flows. It's like having a bunch of water, and some is rapids and some is calm, but it's all water. So I love the idea of taking this 50-50 concept of that and softening that even in a way, or letting it have a membrane that flows back and forth, where we can shift our concept of anything that we're doing, that it is serving us, and it is of course serving people around us. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and, you know, there is an and, because unless you're supremely conscious and aware with that,
well, our whole audience is, you know.
default so easily. So let's just finish the explanation of the 50-50 so that at least we get that covered. It's a focus on taking care of the body. It's a focus on taking care of our minds. Think of all the dementia patients who probably wish they'd taken better care of their minds. We need to take care of our spirit. We definitely need time to nurture that self-loving relationship. And, you know, we need time just for me, whether that's, you know, that's about filling back up. So Angel, that's where the joy comes. What brings joy? You know, to me, it's art, it's beauty, it's music, it's art journaling, it's time in nature. You know, it's what fills me back up. And so it might seem that it's selfish, but actually when you realize that what you came to do was to share who you are, all of your innate gifts and talents, the passions, the purpose, to inspire other people from your own behavior. That is so missed. We don't actually inspire people so much with our words, even with our actions. It's who we are. It's the energy field around us that impacts people without saying a word to them. We can just pass them in the street, and the energy field that we walk in lifts everyone around you.
Yes, yes.
So not selfish. It's essential that we do this self-discovery. And then on the other side, the other 50%, that's where our work and our relationships with other people live. So that's where, you know, your intimate relationship lives. That's where your relationship with other people and the work you do in the world. You can't give anything that's real quality unless you're taking the time to fill yourself. I have a quick story that I heard years ago from
before you mention the story, I just want to ask Angel how we're doing with time.
Yeah, we have one more minute.
Okay.
Okay, one minute.
We may not have time for your story because we have to tell people a little bit about how they can get at you. And, you know, one thing I also want to quickly mention to you, Angel, also, you know, I was so happy to have Aimee on the show because I was reading the book Resilience from the Heart by Greg Braden and the power to thrive in life's extremes. And in that book also, there's so much of, you know, sort of what you're speaking about, Aimee. So I recommend that as a beautiful book. Of course, we love Greg Braden. He's our buddy. So we love to share with him. So Angel, I know we have to race out of here. So I want to let you know, make sure that we do what we do before we leave our people for another week.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely, number one, let's make sure we can, you know, direct everybody to Aimee. So what's the best way to find you online, please?
Thank you. The website is whattrulymatters.com. So there's two things in there. What has an ends with a T and truly begins with a T, TRULY. You can email me at info@whattrulymatters.com. And I'd love to hear everybody's comments. It's a controversial topic. And, you know, I love that we really, at the very beginning of the show, boiled it down to its essence. In breath, out breath.
So easy. Thank you. And Sunny, where can we find you?
You can find me at sunnychayes.com and sunnychayes@gmail.com. Just go ahead and get at me. And of course, check me out at Whole Life Times and UBN and iHeart and all those places where you can see all my other fun shows that are coming up and going on out there. And happy All Saints Day, Angel. Being the angel that you are, who you are. Last word to you, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The same to you and the same to Aimee. And again, thank you very much, Aimee, for being with us today. We really appreciate it. It's been a real pleasure. And Sunny, again, so much fun. It's amazing what we do every day. Thank you. And to all our audience, we're going to be here again with Sunny on next Thursday. Thank you very much. This is Angel Ribo with Mindalia TV. Thank you very much for being with us today and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.